We're gonna get started. So if we could have everybody take their seats, that'd be great. I love that we're so chatty this morning. I think it's the 50-something degree weather we're gonna have today. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Ohio Loves Transit Week. I will, call the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee meeting to order at 9:02. We just have a couple things on the agenda, and then we'll move forward to the board meeting. Committee of the whole, and then the board meeting. Okay, so could I have roll call, please, Brent?
Ms. Pachetti?
Here.
Mayor Gallo?
Here.
Ms. McPherson?
Here.
Mr. Sleesman?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We have the minutes to approve from the February 3rd meeting. You all have that in front of you. Do I have any discussion or questions on the minutes? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Those minutes are approved. And we'll move on to one of my favorite agenda items, traction results reporting. So if I could have General Manager Birdsong Terry, I believe, presenting with Nick Bigger, Senior Director of Performance, Customer Experience and Performance Management, and Mark, you're going to have to help me out with your last name. Ash, thank you very much. Mark Ash, Chief Executive Officer of TransPro Consulting. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. As was mentioned, we'll be going through the quarterly performance review for fiscal year 25, quarter 4. So just as a quick reminder, we do report in arrears by 1 quarter. So we will be asking you to prepare yourselves mentally to go back 3 months as we go through the information. Understand that we are in February, and again, we'll be coming to you for the next quarter. If you pay attention to the roster that we have up here, we have a guest. He is a special guest. He's to my right here, Mr. Mark Ash. He is the founder and CEO for TransPro Consulting. This is a really special day for us, I think, on both sides of the house, for RTA and as well as for TransPro, because we've been at this for some years now. And when I say that, we have been creating the traction moniker internally, but we've also been taking guidance from TransPro externally for about 4 years now, if I'm not mistaken. And going through that process has been intriguing. It's been a lot of debate. It's been a lot of different opinions and a lot of feedback for us to be able to think through how we crawl before we walk. And when I say that, it's really been on the data side. Part of that we're going to share with you today is not only just the regular quarterly report, but also it's a closeout of the contract with TransPro. And again, this marks the transformation that we have gone through internally and on the RTA side to be able to create the customer experience and performance management department, but also even larger than that, being able to really absorb the data and become better stewards of our own internal practices so that we can set metrics, set goals in a way that is transformative, in a way that speaks to hopefully the public and not just the internal technicians, and also the new employees that are coming on board to understand that everyone has a number. Everyone has a piece of the process that goes into becoming better. So with that, I'm going to kind of sail through this agenda. We have added in a couple of different slides. You'll see number 4 and number 5 really get to what I just talked about through the PM, performance management cadence. If you hear PM, that's what that is, the PM evolution. And then, of course, number 6 is a newbie today for the expression of appreciation that Mark and I will go through. All right, so Nick Bigger and I will take over for the beginning of the presentation to be able to go through our scorecard as you normally will see. So again, these are the 4 success outcomes. I won't bore you to tears, but just wanted to be able to level set for you here. We are in the yellow. If you look to the far right side, that is the quarter 4. And so for example, customer experience, you're looking at 36.4 out of a potential 40 for that particular quarter. It continues in that regard, 16.5 out of 25 for community impact. And again, these are fluctuations from quarter to quarter, so we'll talk through some of that stuff. And 17.8 out of a potential 20 for employee investment, and a 13.4 out of 15 for financial health. That leaves us at 84.1, and if you think back to grade school, that leaves us at a solid B. So that is our report card for the end of the year here. And again, that's out of 100 points. We don't go over 100. We don't give ourselves extra credit, although we would love to. We want to keep it, is that better? Okay, thank you. We want to keep it fair and simple for digestion, so we are at a solid B for the year. Also, the success outcome. Now, this one is the status of our Net Promoter Score. Again, and we'll talk to this a little bit as we go forward. The Net Promoter Score and a couple of our other metrics will be separated out for 2026 moving forward, and also being able to look at a rolling average versus a quarter by quarter, so we can kind of digest the information in multiple ways. These are the small tweaks that we've kind of gone through to make sure that the data is a little bit more easily readable. But for the purposes of today, we will stick to our schedule, and our Net Promoter Score is listed here for you on the right. Again, community impact, this is an overall status number, employee investment, and financial health. I'll take a moment to let that sink in. Keep this in mind. We can always go back to this slide here. You can see from a very high level where we need improvement, where we have improved, and where we're retaining the status quo sort of for those numbers. We'll go into the deep dive in a little bit. Again, sometimes, just for information, on the financial health side, the competitive, working from the bottom up, competitive capital grants sometimes come down to timing as far as when those grants roll in and when our application status are. We can talk through that if you like, but we're getting close to that overall success definition of 35 million, coming in almost over 28 million. And again, there's points that are allocated. I want to make sure that you understand we handle all of these with extreme care. So regardless of how many points are allocated on the right-hand side, so customer experience is our North Star at 40 points, community impact is 25, employee investment at 20, and financial health is 15. I do not want to give the impression that we don't feel financial health is important. We absolutely do. Given where we were in the beginning of the year and where our metrics came in, where our customer surveys came in, we were told by our customer, hey, you've got to make my experience a little bit better. We want to make sure that things are on time, they're safe, they're clean, all of the basic tenets of public transit. So we decided to put the majority of our points in that bucket. As we have gone through the year and we've worked on a lot of those items, made transformative changes in some areas, we also have had finance rising to the top in a lot of our conversations. So you'll see that flip, and not to say it's going to be a one-for-one flip, but you'll see more points put in the bucket of financial health as we move forward into 2026. This is a sliding scale that the traction format allows us to be able to pivot and also respond to the customers in a way where we are listening to them, and hopefully it's showing through the data, and we're not just having lip service, we're actually showing it through the metrics that we provide, which create a trickle-down effect of the projects and the programs that we're working on every month. Hopefully that makes sense, and then it goes from there as far as your community impact or your employee investments. We can go through that a little bit as well. The vacancy fill rate is really important to our employee investment. If we don't have the people, we don't have the projects. So we have to make sure that we continually work on that from the HR side and from the talent acquisition side and from the training side. Without those employees, we don't have operations. We don't have engineering projects. We don't have the outreach. We have to make sure that we keep those tight. Customer experience, again, Net Promoter Score, how likely are you to recommend us to someone else? It's kind of like our Yelp review. I always say that, but it resonates with people. How likely are you to recommend us to someone else? Okay, from this point, I believe I'll hand it over to Nick Bigger, who will go through the organizational scorecard.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Pichetti, members of the board. My name is Nick Bigger, and I'm the Senior Director of Customer Experience and Performance Management here at the RTA. And I'm here this morning to go through our fourth quarter 2025 Traction Organizational Scorecard results. As our General Manager was just saying, just as a reminder, the RTA utilizes a balanced scorecard approach for performance management. Our balanced scorecard has 4 quadrants, themes that we call success outcomes. All of our organizational metrics and goals align with one of these 4 success outcomes. And so I'm going to go through our scorecard results, success outcome by success outcome, starting with our first one here is customer experience. So you can see our metrics listed there. The majority of organizational metrics that we are tracking our performance against for customer experience are derived directly from our quarterly customer experience survey. So we're going to go through those results in a moment here. Net promoter score, so to what extent, how likely are you to recommend writing RTA to a friend or neighbor? That is how we get our net promoter score. So net promoter score for the fourth quarter, we came in with a 23 compared to a goal of 29. So when we ask that question, we're comparing the percentage of respondents who are highly likely to recommend writing RTA, someone who answers a 9 or a 10 on a Likert scale, and taking away the detractors, those who are 6 and under, not very likely to recommend. That delta gives you your net promoter score. We're also asking our customers about their overall customer satisfaction. We came in at a 78% compared to our goal of 74%. We ask our customers about their perception of safety and security, their perception of our on-time performance, and their perception of our vehicle cleanliness, 3 of the main pain points that our customers consistently share with us. And so they're infused directly here on our organizational scorecard. So perception of safety in the fourth quarter, we came in at a 63% compared to a goal of 68%. Perception of on-time performance, 69% compared to a goal of 76%. And at the bottom there, perception of vehicle cleanliness, 53% compared to a goal of 59%. The second to last metric is our internal data. So this is our actual organizational on-time performance. We had an organizational goal of 83%, and in the fourth quarter, we came in at 85%. So cumulatively, all of these metrics, we earned a 36.4 points out of a possible 40 points for customer experience in the fourth quarter of 2025. Going into our second success outcome, which is our community impact. So we have some metrics here. The top metric you see is also derived from survey data. This is a different survey, not our quarterly customer experience surveys. This is our community survey, which we have historically administered twice a year. So in 2025, we had 2 iterations of this survey. This metric here infused on our organizational scorecard, we're very interested in the community at large. What is their perception of the RTA? And specifically, to what extent is RTA personally relevant for you in your life? So we have a goal of 62%. In our fourth quarter, which is the same as our third quarter, they share the data here. We administer the survey every 6 months. We came in at a 65% compared to a goal of 62%. We're also very interested in transit-oriented development. So we had a goal for 2025 to have 4 items here. This is specifically looking at TOD projects where RTA has worked with a development partner and come to the board to seek approval to move forward on the TOD project. So in 2025, we came to the board with 1 such project. There are several others in the hopper as well. This is a metric, in our next meeting coming up here when we're starting to look at our 2026 scorecard. We've put some more nuance to this metric. So we're not only concerned about the initial, activation of projects, but also our progress, moving the ball down the field with transit-oriented development. We're very concerned about the ratio of private sector investment to major capital investment. So here we came in, this ratio 7.03 compared to a goal of 7. So right on par with our goal here. We're concerned about being good stewards with the capital dollars that we receive, making sure that we're investing it in the neighborhoods and location most in need of investment. And so we bested our goal here with this metric. And then lastly, some sustainability efforts. You can see that we actually came in at a -2. So we actually increased a little bit of emissions reduction compared to a goal of an 8% reduction. So cumulatively, for community impact, we accrued 16.5 out of a possible 25 points. Moving to our third success outcome, this is looking at our employee investment. The top metric here is our vacancy fill rate for what we call mission critical positions, so operators, mechanics, and transit police. So we came in at a 98% vacancy fill rate compared to an organizational goal of 95%. The bottom metric there is our vacancy fill rate for non-bargaining positions. So we came in at 94% compared to our goal of 95%. The second metric, cultivate internal talent pipeline, this is looking at our internal promotion rate. So for the fourth quarter of 2025, we had a 16% internal promotion rate compared to a goal of 36%. And then the second to last metric, agency-wide retention rate. For the fourth quarter, we came in at 96% compared to a goal of 90%. So cumulatively for employee investment, we accrued 17.8 out of a possible 20 points. And the last of our four success outcomes is our financial health. So we have three metrics affiliated with financial health. Competitive capital grants through the fourth quarter of 2025, we received $28.2 million in competitive capital grants compared to a goal of $35 million. The bottom metric here, general fund transfer to capital rolling stock reserve fund. This is us transferring money to support the purchase of the new rail cars. So we had an organizational goal to transfer in $10 million to support the rail car replacement program, and we did achieve that goal. So we did transfer $10 million to support that program. The second metric here, transfer from revenue stabilization fund. So this was always a stretch goal for us. As we developed the budget for 2025, we had budgeted to draw down $50.5 million from our revenue stabilization fund, which is essentially the savings account for the RTA, in order to balance the budget. We put a stretch goal on our organizational scorecard to try to cap that drawdown at $40 million. So while we came in at $45 million, so we did not hit the $40 million, I think that it is notable. It speaks a little bit to the advent of having the stretch goal on your scorecard because we were shooting closer towards that 40 million as opposed to the 50 million in our budget. Cumulatively, we came in at a 13.4 out of possible 15 points for financial health. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Ash, the CEO from TransPro, who's going to go over our customer experience survey results.
Thank you, Nick. Good morning, members of the board. I will share, Madam Chair, as I take the podium, while you're celebrating mid-50s for someone who sleeps in Tampa, Florida every night, it is not the weather that causes me to come to Cleveland today, but rather it really does take something special to be able to share with the board, and would really want to share with you all. We're going to take you through a bunch of numbers, but would want to underscore that 85% of your colleagues who sit on boards across the country don't enjoy presentations that you just did. What typically happens in front of 85% of boards across the country is management teams will stand in front of them and show them all of the activities for the past month, how hard they worked, which is similar to eating tomato soup with a fork. There's a lot of activity, but not necessarily the results that it produces. They're able to show you the results. And I think back, to the work of 5 years ago when this journey began, led by your CEO, the middle column, which today clearly articulates what success looks like, had question marks in it because it wasn't able to be answered at the time. And the agency has been able to go from one that was data rich but information poor to one that is very information driven and using those facts to be able to drive decisions. I'm going to take you into a bunch of customer satisfaction results, and you're going to see even more numbers than what Nick has already taken you through. But I'm going to ask you to focus on one, which is beyond the detail of what I'm about to present, is that 80% of transit agencies in America measure their customer satisfaction once every 5 years. 80% measure their customer satisfaction once every 5 years. Can you imagine being Starbucks and measuring your customer sat every 5 years? You do it every quarter. And here we are 6 weeks after the end of the quarter, and you have a sense of what's important to your customers and what their experience is. That commitment to really focusing on results is what sets the agency aside. So let me start. You've heard a lot about Net Promoter Score. For those that are not familiar with it, let me take 1 minute and set up what NPS is. Was created at Harvard Business School back in the 1960s. You've all taken the Net Promoter Score question. Some may not know it. It's a singular question. There's a great book called The Ultimate Question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you recommend this service or product to a friend or a family member? 9s and 10s are promoters. 7s and 8s are passives. And 0 to 6s are going on Twitter and saying nasty things about you. They're your detractors. Your Net Promoter Score is calculated by your 9s and 10s, your percentage of 9s and 10s, minus your 0 to 6s. The average NPS in the airport industry is 22. And so you can see the NPS here, while we've had a couple of drops, I would compare that against, moving to the next slide, overall satisfaction. And so the reason that we ask both of these questions, the first one being Net Promoter Score, this is fixed route bus, is as you think about growing market share, right? As you think about growing ridership, these are the people that are saying kind things about you. These are the folks that are walking into your coffee shop today. These are the people that are using the product today. And so both questions, very, very important. You will tend to see more variance in NPS than you do overall SAT, but you can see as it relates here, while NPS has taken a couple of drops, overall trending positive, and overall satisfaction continues to run very, very high. The question, however, which is always important, and I would relate you to the presentation that Nick just provided, which is how do we measure the right things that will ultimately make the customer happy? Most transit agencies will measure the things that make them happy, as opposed to thinking about what makes the customer happy. And so your customer on fixed route bus is very, very clear about what's most important to them. Most important factor in making a customer happy on the buses, on-time performance. Followed immediately by personal safety and security, the drivers, and you were able to demonstrate, remember the variance between perceived on-time performance and actual on-time performance? We're actually on time 16% more than the customers give us credit for, so a real opportunity with the operators there. And cleanliness. Nick spoke about the measurement of cleanliness and the importance of that and how it's prioritized. So getting the right things right in the order of what's important to your customer matters, and balancing that between actual performance and customers' impression of performance, because both matter in driving your NPS score. Let's take a look at bus rapid transit. And so you'll see a very, very similar experience here. A little bit of a drop in regards to Net Promoter Score, but a little bit of a bump in overall satisfaction. So again, both matter. The management team has selected as an outcome to hold them accountable to in regards to NPS, but a key factor in driving your NPS score is overall satisfaction, which, as you can see, is trending upwards. What's important to people who use bus rapid transit? Personal safety and security. So a little bit of a variance in regards to what we saw on fixed route bus. On fixed route bus, on-time performance was number 1. It's different by a point, so it's it's statistically insignificant in regards to the difference, but the number 1 factor is personal safety and security. You will notice, however, it's the same 4 factors. Right, the same 4 factors that drive the fixed route experience are the same 4, a slightly different order to them, but clearly focusing on the right things to be able to drive satisfaction levels for your customers. Let's look at rail. So in regards to rail, you can see again a drop in the Net Promoter Score in regards to that, but very, very holding steady in regards to overall satisfaction. So the story in this is a little bit of a downward trend in regards to overall NPS, but overall satisfaction remaining very, very high from fourth quarter compared to historic performance. What's important to people who use rail? Personal safety and security, on-time performance, cleanliness, we've seen that, right? So we know that song. But look at the 4th most important factor, and we're seeing that play out nationally. That's a cost of a trip. And so as agencies begin to think about revenue going forward, as more and more people post-COVID are working from home, the actual real income of a transit customer is 14% lower today than it was 4 years ago. And so fares become critically important to the people that are using that service. Wouldn't be surprised if this begins to jump into other factors as well, but you can see here in regards to rail that fares is the fourth most important thing in regards to the customer's experience. And finally, in regards to paratransit, important that the agency focuses on all elements of customer experience. And while paratransit may be a relatively small percentage of overall ridership, their satisfaction level matters. I will call your attention to Net Promoter Score here. Very, very high. A very, very high score of Net Promoter Score. Almost 6.5 out of 10 would recommend service to a friend or a family member. And similarly, you'll notice customer satisfaction levels. Very, very high in regards to the service that is delivered for them. What's important to the paratransit customer? Looky, same as that we've been seeing, right? High level of personal safety and security, pretty overwhelmingly. Wouldn't be surprised, right, with a very vulnerable population, the importance of personal safety and security. It's a very intimate relationship with the driver, the operator working very directly with that customer. So the experience with the operator is very, very high. Cleanliness, travel time, and on-time performance matter. Travel time particularly in regards to this population, critically important to that experience. Would compare here the Net Promoter Score for you all in the mid-60s to the national average, appreciably higher, essentially double of what overall satisfaction levels is. And I think, boards are oftentimes hear from 1s and 2s and 3s of customers that appear in front of them, and that they certainly are welcome to their experience. But you can see from the data, that's not most people's experience. Most people have a very positive experience with the service that is provided, and that also plays out nationally as well. So when you put it all together, I broke them down into 4 different groups for you here, but as you put them all together, you can see where the agency compares in regards to national average, beating the national average rather appreciably in regards to overall satisfaction. And then you can see here the trends in regards, the teal line is overall satisfaction trending up. And you can see the last 3 waves really have jumped up and a slight decline in regards to overall Net Promoter Score. Why don't I pause after throwing a bunch of numbers at you and remind you of where I started, which is 80% of agencies measure their customer satisfaction once every 5 years. You look at it every quarter. We're 6 weeks into the next quarter, and we already have results from the last, but I'd be happy to pause and take any questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee or the full board? I do have a question, but I don't know if I should hold it for the end of the presentation.
I'll defer to your judgment.
Okay. Yeah? Okay, so I was interested in the cost of the ride. You mentioned something about incomes are 14% lower for transit riders because of remote work. Could you just go into that? Where is that coming from? I just wanted to learn more about that.
Sure. So research nationally, we've been able to square a couple of different resources. But the research that we do nationally with a number of different agencies, and it squares with other data points as well, is because more and more people are working remotely. Those that can't work remote tend to be in lower income jobs. And so as a result, service jobs primarily, and as a result of the fact that they can't work remotely while people who may be in higher income jobs are able to work remote, the overall decline in average income of a transit customer is 14 points lower than it was pre-COVID.
Thank you very much.
Hence the reason fares are jumping up, right? It doesn't surprise at all.
Yeah.
But creates a real challenge for financial stability as fares are important to transit agencies. But we're beginning to see that there's going to be a direct correlation between the prospect of, not suggesting that you're considering this, but were an agency to raise fares has a direct correlation on customer satisfaction.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you. And I appreciate you calling out the efforts of this agency to really measure our progress. It is very important. We take it very seriously. I also want to say that for the riders out there who are, not one of the ones recommending RTA, those 3 or 4 out of 10 riders are still important to us too. So while we are very happy with 6 or 7 out of 10 in terms of net promoter score, we are still shooting for more, and that's why I appreciate the leadership of this agency to always push for better. And even though we are above the national average for things like paratransit. So thank you.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jeff.
thanks.
I'm sorry, Trustee Sleesman.
You mentioned, I think it was during the fixed route, you mentioned an opportunity when we're looking at the perception versus actual for on-time performance. Could you just repeat or maybe say more about that?
Sure, happy to. So the number one factor, so the input which drives the outcome, right? So the goal is happier customers, and the number one input to make them happy on fixed route bus is on-time performance. And so what you're measuring is 2 elements of that. The first is your actual on-time performance, which is 85, and the customer's impression of on-time performance, which is 69%. And so the point that I was making is this isn't a training issue for operators or rewriting schedules or like how do we get them to be better at being on time. Your on-time performance is actually very, very good. It's the communication opportunity to convince the customers that you're as good as you are, right? That there's a 16-point gap between actual on-time performance and perceived. So it's not an operating issue, it's a perception issue, and how do you change that?
Thanks. And then this question might be for Ms. Terry or Mr. Bigger. I don't see it on here. Can you remind me of what the goal points for each of those are? Because I thought it was higher for the actual versus the impression, and it sounded like maybe if there's a bigger opportunity for impression that we should take a look at that.
And I'm happy to speak to the theory of it, and I'll turn the mic over to Nick. The concept of goal points is to prioritize the inputs to produce the outcome that you care most about. So it's establishing of these different things that we're measuring, the different KPIs that we're measuring, what's the priority of them to produce the outcome that we desire, hence the goal points. Nick, I'll welcome your voice if you want to.
Yeah, just to specifically respond, so you can see the goal point allocation there for 2025. The perception of on-time performance had 4 goal points associated with it, and the actual had 6.
Okay. Is that going to, are we sticking with that, or are we going to take a look at that? Because it sounds like there's a big opportunity there for impression versus actual.
Yeah, so I would just say to that, so as we were saying earlier in the presentation, we take the opportunity every year to assess where we are. And so we've done a number of these activities. And so when we come back to you next and we're talking about our 2026 scorecard, we take the opportunity to re-weight success outcomes. So we look at 2026, most pressing issues, so the total goal points per success outcome are reallocated. We do the same thing for the individual metrics, right? So we take the opportunity to consider, is this metric still of the utmost importance to the organization? Are there other metrics we could add onto our scorecard? And then once we have our list of metrics, we take the opportunity to re-weight all the metrics in relation with each other. So it's certainly something that we have looked at. Off the top of my head, I don't remember specifically that, but we do look at that.
Okay. Yeah. An observation that I have no opinion on is also that's also the only metric that has an actual versus impression actually on here, whereas cleanliness and safety have perception, but not any actuals, which, again, I don't have any editorials about that. It's just it's an observation of what's in front of me.
I think that's a great observation, and if I could speak to that, we are aware, as Mark was saying, on-time performance, consistently and overwhelmingly is the number one area of importance for our customers, right? So we might see some movement wave by wave where things go up and down or whatever, but if you look at the overall, it's on-time performance is the number one for all of our fixed route customers, and so that is why we're really doubling down on that metric. So we want to know what is their perception, but also what is our internal performance. So we look at those in tandem with each other. So really, it's the totality of the 6 plus the 4. So almost like 10 goal points are assigned to on-time performance for this agency.
Good morning again. I'll just add a little bit of additional color to the comments that were made that I think are spot on. And then I also, not to belabor it, but Doc, if you had any additional comments, because your name is by those metrics, wanted to just give a little bit of information about some of the reasoning behind the perception versus impression, because I think that's an important question. I appreciate it. For on-time performance, those can be looked at in a strictly scheduling bucket or bubble. And that was mentioned a little bit by Mark before, where if you have a bus that's on time and actually hits the bus stop at the right time per schedule, but you're waiting in the rain, and the shelter that you're in, and I'm making this up, right, to give it for effect, and the shelter that you're in has a hole in it, or it is cold outside and you don't have the right clothing on, your perception of on-time performance may be that you've been sitting there an hour, when you may have really been there 15 minutes, right, because of the elements. Or it could be that we're actually running late. And that's where we want to make the difference, because when we get down to the second and the minutes, as far as whether that bus or that train is traveling according to schedule, and whether that bus or that train is traveling according to schedule to be able to facilitate your transfer on time, that's the difference where perception can become reality, and we want to make the distinction between one and the other. We want to have folks understand exactly what the schedule says, and if we're making it on time as promised and as advertised, but we also understand that there's a bit of an emotional component to waiting outside in the elements, which we often do, and this is Cleveland, it's not Tampa, much respect, Mark, to the weather, and we understand that we are at the mercy of some of those emotions that come with it. So we wanted to give that distinction there. For vehicle cleanliness and personal safety and security, we have the numbers. We can always share that with you. My concern, and I'll put this on my back, is what the perception of the customer is. If you are in danger and you feel that you don't have a response in an accurate manner, that's a problem. So for me, the data is always there, and we do track that. But we need to know, did the transit police get there in 5 minutes, 2 minutes, or 30 seconds? We have that information every time. But if the customer feels that there is no mechanism for them to be seen, heard, or helped, that is an immediate problem that we need to correct, and therefore perception will always take precedence on that scorecard. Cleanliness is very similar to that as well. If we have a game and someone perhaps misses the target and we have a wet seat for some reason, could be a child, could be something else, we need to know that that seat is swapped out, or that bus is swapped out immediately. If we clean a bus every 30 minutes, all it takes is one person to drop something. All it takes is one person to have an accident on the vehicle. And our perception of cleanliness is really perception of response. In those two categories, it's perception of response and how agile are we? How adept are we at being able to get to the needs of the customer? So that's primarily why you see the perception instead of the actual for those. We do track that information as well. We can always share that with you. But for us, if we need to truncate which one matters more as far as the customer impression of how we're doing, it is perception first. I hope that explains it.
It does, and that
Okay.
the way that safety, security, and cleanliness are handled make entire sense to me. I'll say that.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Don't know if I said everything you need.
I think you did. Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Pachetti, members of the committee. I'm Flauntay Caver, the Chief Operating Officer here at the Greater Cleveland RTA. And as described by Mr. Bigger and Ms. Terry, their description is correct. I'll just add one extra aspect to that question of perception versus actual. In all of these, we have an actual behind it. And so we'll start with on-time performance. Our customers believe that we're on time. 69% of our customers believe that we're on time. Our actual is 85. In our divisional meetings, we actually are looking at the on-time performance, and we're doing so, I'll call it as a science, right? We're looking at, is the bus on time? Say the route is on time 86% of the time. That may be over the daytime, but at 4 p.m., when you come through University Circle, that route may be on time 60% of the time. And so we're using the actual data to determine where there's opportunities for us to better scientifically create the route so that it can make it through areas of town on time. And so Joel's team provides that information to our team so that we can better create the routes and move through the community. Another example that's different here is vehicle cleanliness perception. As Ms. Terry mentioned, the bus can leave the garage, but by noon it's dirty. And if you only ride at noon, it seems like the vehicle is never cleaned. And so we want the perception to increase. And so, but behind that, we have metrics. So our team presents a daily report of the number of days since the bus was cleaned. And so our districts have goals. Some of the buses are 7, 10, or 12 days. And so we manage to make sure that the bus is actually getting its major clean. It's swept out every night, but we manage that data. And so when you think about inputs, outputs, and outcome, in one space, we can manage the activity. Did the cleaners actually clean the bus? That answer is yes. But then the next piece and the more impactful piece is the outcome. Do the customers believe that the bus has been cleaned or cleaner? And so for all of these, we're measuring aspects. And then I'll just give you the last one, personal perception of safety. And that question, the actual question is, do you feel safe while riding? And do you feel safe while waiting for the vehicle? And so our transit police department, I see the commander over there. Our transit police department manages, certainly we're trying to do this. This is a quarterly input, but in a daily input, they're able to provide for me dashboards that tell me where are we, when are we there, and how much can we commit to being in places that customers believe they may feel unsafe while waiting or riding a vehicle. And so we're managing that through output metrics in order to drive the business. But the goal is, even if we did something 100% of the time or 100 times, the goal is that the customer believes that it's happened. And so a performance scorecard that just managed activity may give us a A+. We're doing stuff, but it may not be impacting the customers. And so what you see here is impact on customers. What's happening behind the scene is the output for the organizations, and it drives strategy, right? So if we go up in between our days between interior washes, then it's going to drive, do we need to resource that team? Do we need to figure out new tools? Do we need to figure out a new way to do the job that they're doing so that we can be more impactful to customers?
Thanks. Yeah. Just to reiterate, the way personal safety, security, and cleanliness are handled makes entire sense to me. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you for that added detail. And then any other questions?
Thank you. I'm unsure if this question is for RTA leadership or for you, but as you look at this data overall, what would be a key headline you all would want us to take away as we go into strategic planning for the next quarter, for the next year? And my follow-up question is also, where do you see us losing ground within or outside of our scope of influence?
Great questions. These are really good. I appreciate this. This is why we go fast in the presentation, because we know we're going to have a lot of questions. So to answer the first, I believe is, well, actually, let me redo it in reverse. Where are we losing ground, or where could we kind of shore that up? Would probably be in the perception category. So I think that that's why we kind of gave you a verbose answer, Trustee Sleesman, is because to your point, Ms. Wiggum, we have to be able to educate folks on what we're actually doing. We do a lot of things in bubbles. And when I say that, we have storage locations, we have facilities that never really get out to the public, right? They just see the output and they don't see necessarily the input. And as Flance was mentioning, we have to be able to measure beyond activity and to really say, so for example, there's a 69% up there or 68%. We actually may be operating more at a 90% level as far as the output, but if the customer actually doesn't feel it, they're not going to support us when we are out there for whatever mechanism. If we need support on a new project or new funding, their response is going to be how they feel. So to answer your question, I think we need to work on perception, and that does help as far as shore up the work that the marketing department is doing. You might have met, I can't remember the timing on it, AdCom, our new marketing department, our third party. facilitator that's kind of helping us through how do we reintroduce ourselves to the community. We've been doing that for a long time, but we need to get out there more. We need to make sure that we're ahead and in front of some of the service that we provide. And I'll just say this, a lot of our customers and a lot of the politicians and a lot of the leaders in our community who may not have ridden all the time or very often or recently, don't always understand, and it's not because they don't care, but it's because we haven't educated them on all of the things that we bring to the table beyond the bus and beyond the train itself. So kind of getting to your first question there, I think that we can realize in the strategic plan, how do we get our allies around us? How do we also work to be able to kind of get in front of some of the basic services that we provide so that we can be at the table economically? And a lot of the decisions that are happening in our community, whether it's downtown or in a particular bedroom community, we need to be there and we need to get ahead of those developers when they're putting out projects and then layer on transit 5 years later. We need to make sure that they understand the necessity of public transit because the profile is changing. And I'll say that for Cleveland specifically, it has taken a tone of being for perhaps those that are lesser economically prepared. And I'll say that if you look in different cities, public transit has a different face depending on the neighborhood that you're in or depending on the city. It can look like the doctor and the lawyer. It can look like the waitress and the teacher. It can look like the unhoused and the mentally unstable. It can look like everyone. And I think Cleveland has to start to realize that public transit is a lifeblood for connectivity as we start to break down those barriers. And the better that we can do that, it was really long, I apologize, I'm passionate about it, the better off I think we'll be. And we just haven't done that in a really long time. Yep.
Okay, we have a lot to get to this morning, but I will ask finally for any final comments, brief final comments or questions.
I have a really brief comment based on exactly that. I've said it before, I've never really liked the question about dependent or not, and that goes along with that. I'm on the side of getting rid of that.
Thank you.
I just had
Please.
one quick question, Nick, and I know we've talked about this last quarter and the last board meeting. Is it possible for the rail, for like customer satisfaction and net promoter score, just for this last quarter, to break that out between red line versus the other lines, since we know that was a decrease in ridership? I'd rather not have that be a blended number, but specifically to that. That might be more helpful, I think, to all of us.
Sure,
If you could take that under consideration.
absolutely. Yeah, thank you. So we do like to take the opportunity in these presentations to just give a very eagle-eye view of the year and how we administer performance management at our agency. So highlighted there in the top left box, you can see where we are today. So we're doing our board report. On a quarterly basis, we report to the board and the public based on our customer experience survey results and our traction scorecard results. Every day that we report to the board in the morning, we also have an internal meeting in the afternoon, so a leadership meeting where we're looking at our results and we are talking about strategy, trying to improve. On a monthly basis, we have a cadence of meetings that we call tactics meetings. And so key differentiation here, when we show our scorecard, we're talking about metrics. So the metrics are what is important to us, right? The tactics are how we're trying to improve. So tactics are essentially cross-functional leadership teams trying to do an annual project to try to improve something to move the needle on our scorecard. And so on a monthly basis, every single year, we evaluate what are the most important tactics that RTA needs to undertake to try to move the needle. We assign leadership roles, and then we meet on a monthly basis. We handle it with standard project management, right? So come up with a charter, and we really try to drive progress through these tactics meetings. So I just want to point that out, that we are meeting on a quarterly basis, externally and internally, but also on a monthly basis. So we do have a monthly cadence for performance management here at the RTA.
Madam Chair, I'm going to put a bow on this in 60 seconds or less, I promise. Standing here today because we have successfully worked ourselves out of a job, which if you're in the business that I'm in is a good thing. You get to leave with a smile on your heart and on your face. That an agency led by your management team is able to stand in front of you and tell you what success looks like and tell you that they scored a B. And it's not their opinion that they scored a B. They're not cherry picking what would get them to a B. They scored a B compared to how they define success. And so I look back at 5 years ago when the agency would adopt a budget and then figure out what to go do based upon the money that they had and had no ability to measure if they were producing success. Today, that all lines up. You have a clear strategy. You have purposeful tactics that will allow you to deliver that success. You're measuring what matters in the right order and focusing on, do you have an actual on-time performance question or a perception of an on-time performance? We just spent 15 minutes on that, which 5 years ago, you wouldn't have had the data to be able to provide you that dialogue of really drilling down, how do I produce the ultimate goal, which is to achieve the outcome which I care about. You used to have a mission statement that was longer than a Fidel Castro speech. You can now look at it in 3 words in front of me, very, very clear as to what the purpose of the organization is, and you've aligned the team around that. I would point out any organization can be great at anything, but you can't be great at everything. And the reality is, as you have changed your behaviors, I want to finish on this last slide, the country is moving towards where you already are. So the screens that you're looking at are where the regulatory body for public transportation in the country is headed, no longer focused on compliance, no longer focused on using the right number 2 pencil to fill out your forms, really focused on performance, on the outcomes of that performance. And you'll notice on the screenshot that you can see the ability to actually provide boards an A, B, C, D, F rating, which you already know, in regards to the outcomes you're producing. So proud to congratulate your management team, proud to congratulate you on your assistance that you are 5 years ahead of where the country is headed. With that, Madam CEO, I will defer to you.
The end. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And I'll just say on behalf of the board, Mr. Ash, thank you so much for all the work of you and your team to bring us to this point, and for helping equip us with the tools and the knowledge that we can just carry forward to continue monitoring progress. So just sincerely, thank you, and we hope to stay in touch. Thank you. All right, moving on to the last agenda item for this committee. It's the quarterly management report, and welcome General Manager and CEO Birdsong Terry to the podium again.
Thank you. I'll just hang out here for a little bit. I'll be relatively quick. You have the QMR, or the quarterly management report, at your desk there at the dais. If you have any additional questions, I'm happy to take them, or we can also talk offline. We come to you every quarter with this presentation. We really wanted to be able to give you, again, the high level or highlights of the last quarter. Again, just kind of take your mind back a little bit in time to be able to look at where we stand as far as revenues and expenses. Total revenues, the numbers are pretty clear. So 368 million roughly, which is about 1% higher than budget. That's always helpful when you're talking about ridership and being able to take folks in. Passenger fares, you can see where we are here. We are teetering on being at budget, but we also want to make sure that we can think about how to get new ridership, how to be able to get more kind of butts in the seat, if I can be a little crass. And then the sales and use tax, we are not necessarily in control of that per se, but we are the recipient of, so we like to be able to give you those numbers as well, which is nearly 3% above budget. And then the transfer. So when I talk about the transfer, it's the transfer of funding or monies from the Revenue Stabilization Fund, and you'll see the numbers here. We kind of went through that before in the last slide. If you had any questions, Raj and Kay are here from budget to be able to expound upon that, but that's the one that Nick went through when we talked about the goal of 50 with 40 million on the actual metric sheet, and we came in at 45. So we were able to hit that goal as far as the traction went. Operating expenses, we're nearly 2% lower than budget. Again, we're trying to rein in the amount of expenditures we have on the operating side. Those are the things that we can control. When you get into the details behind it, they're listed here. I won't read it for you, but you can talk, or you can read through the personnel costs and what that looks like, the payroll and taxes and the fringes that come along with every personnel position that we have within the authority. And then also talking about the fuel hedging. I want to stop on this for a quick moment. Kay, where are you? Okay, you have a mic, great. If you wanted to be able to give a little color, 30 seconds or less for this particular one, for the fuel hedging and utility contracts, we have talked about this and it came in 5% below budget, so I don't want to gloss over this too quickly, especially given the CNG versus diesel. Oh, perfect. We have our energy manager who is behind us. Tom, if you want to go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Good morning, Ms. Pichetti. Come on there. Okay. Good morning, Ms. Pichetti, members of the board. My name is Tom Allen. I am the energy manager here at the RTA. And as such, my role is to manage the budget for the diesel fuel, CNG, and the utilities at the authority. So as you see here, we're about 5% below budget last year. And you note the fuel hedging and the utility contracts. So our fuel hedging is based on our diesel fuel consumption. That helps us offset any variability in the market. So for example, in 2025, we had a gain of about $67,000. So that reduced our expenses of diesel fuel for about $67,000 last year. That doesn't always happen. Some years there's a loss depending on market variability and the prices that we have in place. Now that program is dwindling down as our consumption of diesel fuel is being reduced. And so that may not continue forward beyond maybe this year or next, depending on where the authority is on its overall fuel consumption. Now, when it comes to the utility contracts, you all are going to see me a few times this year because both our natural gas and electricity contracts will expire in 2027. So we're going to be negotiating those new contracts, trying to get favorable rates against the market. And those help us a lot with budget stabilization. So it allows us to have a more known cost in the future as far as our electricity and our natural gas, which with how big our CNG fleet is and how it's growing and how much electricity we use, especially with the rail cars and what we run, it allows us to have a better sense of what we're going to spend in core pieces of the business that help us move our customers from point A to point B.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Tom. All right, I just wanted to be able to first give Tom a little showtime here, but also to be able to explain to you that we have a method behind the madness here. I'm not sure if we have ever discussed the position for energy manager before. It's been a long-term mainstay in our roster here, but we do manage this quite often, quite deeply, and quite frequently. So I just wanted to offer that little bit of color in that. Purchase transportation, you'll be hearing from our paratransit advocates in a bit, and we've talked through that for the last few meetings. Transfer to other funds, the $10 million to rolling stock, that is the rail car project. And then the 27th pay, that also occurs as a matter of timing through finance. And then, of course, you've got the bonds, capital improvement fund, and the insurance. That is not me. And then just wanted to be able to give you more of a visual here through the bar chart as far as the capital expenditures by category in quarter four for 2025. Sometimes it's a little easier to see this way. And we do have a key in the bottom here. So preventative maintenance is the PM, and the state of good repair, SOGR, you'll see in parentheses to the right. And this is to be able to distinguish the kind of buckets of expenditures and monies that are going out. We understand you have a lot of rail car things coming at you as board members, and we don't want to take for granted that you understand what we mean when we say rail projects versus rail car replacement and facilities. So state of good repair for rail projects, if you look on the right-hand side, it's the third item down at 11.6 million. Those are things that we would have had to do anyway, if you think about it like that. State of good repair projects that support the rail, it's not the cars specifically. So all of the items that you see us reporting out on for the rail car replacement in itself is the 60.8 million at the top. Facilities improvements are pretty self-explanatory, and then reimbursements from PM and labor come in just under 9 million. And that is all I have, unless there are any additional questions.
Any questions from the full board? Okay, I think that's it. You get a rest. At least a couple minutes. All right, I think we are ready to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. We are adjourned.
I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole for today. First off, roll call, please, Brent.
Mayor Kumar,
Here.
Ms. Pachetti,
Here.
Ms. Elder, Mayor Gallo,
Here.
Mr. Love,
Here.
Ms. McPherson,
Here.
Mr. Sleesman,
Here.
Mayor Weiss,
Here.
Ms. Wiggum.
Present.
We have quorum.
Thank you very much. Next item, we have approval of minutes for January 20th. You have those in front of you. If there aren't any edits, then I would ask for a motion in a second.
Move to approve, Sleesman.
Second, McPherson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Next, we have the internal audit report, presentation of the fourth quarter 2025 internal audit report. We have Anthony Garofoli, Executive Director of Internal Audit, and I don't know if Mayor Weiss, as Chair of Internal Audit, has any comments either, but I'll let the two of you take it off.
Mayor Weiss?
Just very briefly, Tony and his team have done another terrific job, another quarter in the books, so to speak, and all well. So turn it over to Tony.
Thank you, and good morning, Mayor Kumar, members of the Committee of the Whole, Executive Management Team, and guests. I am Anthony Garofoli, Executive Director of Internal Audit. I will present the results of the Internal Audit Department activities for the fourth quarter, 2025. Please refer to this book at your table. I will say last Tuesday, February 10th, we presented these activities in detail to the Audit Committee. Today's presentation is merely a summary. With that, I'll move on. Beginning on pages 3 through 5 of the report is the internal audit plan that was approved in February of 2025 and then revised in our mid-year assessment in November. Per our professional audit standards, the plan was aligned with the GCRTA strategic plan and performance metrics. You just heard those, including the success outcomes, customer experience, community impact, financial health, and employee investment. Last year's audit plan focused on customer experience. On pages 5 through 8, please find the results of 4 audit plan projects completed during the fourth quarter. They were employee travel expense and requests, public transportation agency safety plan safety reviews, in-service mechanical failures, and finally, cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency assessment follow-up. We met with management, received their responses to our audit recommendations, and released the reports. These reports were discussed in detail during the Audit Committee meeting last Tuesday. We will track the implementation of the recommendations within our audit management system. On page 9 is a summary and matrix of our work to provide assurance on compliance with the Federal Transit Administration grant regulations for various vehicle replacement contracts that were approved by this board. As you can see, we have several vehicle replacement audits in progress during the fourth quarter and first quarter of 2026. There were no issues for board consideration. That chart is highlighted for you. On pages 10 through 14 are the results of the continuous auditing program. We develop audit scripts to interrogate system data in real time, completing 100% audits for those transactions. During the fourth quarter, we certainly looked at fare collection, purchasing card transactions, nepotism, and employee payroll every biweekly basis. We share the results with appropriate stakeholders and follow up with all open audit issues. Again, there were no issues for board consideration. Moving on to pages 15 through 22 is the report section focused on the rail car replacement program. Per the request of the Audit Committee and this board, we include the results of our audit activities related to the entire program with a focus on change orders and contractor payments. Be advised that the project office is scheduled to present an update to the board in either March or April. They also provided some advanced pictures from the factory, and you'll see those on page 16. More details to come from the project team. On page 17, we included a copy of the change order log maintained by the procurement department. There were no change orders to the Siemens Mobility contract during the fourth quarter. The total value of the Siemens Mobility contract and change orders remains at $344.4 million. Total payments to the contractor as of January 30th, 2026 are $125.3 million. This represents approximately 36% of the total contract amount. On pages 18 and 19 are tables to summarize the railcar program contracts, amounts, expenditures, and change orders. Internal audit is engaged in various audits as we continue to address risk and compliance. The green highlights audits completed, and in the chart, the yellow highlights are audits in progress. We include each of these projects in our audit plan and will continue to do so. The status of those audits is detailed on pages 20 through 22, including an audit of the Port of Cleveland track connector, completed, and in progress, the Brook Park rail shop modifications and Brook Park yard track improvements. We'll report on these results at our next audit committee meeting scheduled in May. On pages 23 through 26 are projects in various stages of completion back to our 2025 internal audit plan. Please note that we added a project phase to provide our readers with transparency and information status. We'll report on these projects in future audit committees too. Page 27, please find the details of our efforts to address special requests and emerging issues. We're completing this project in our role of Inspector General. We'll share the results of this investigation with appropriate stakeholders and in accordance with our audit charter. And we'll follow up on all outstanding recommendations. External auditors on page 28. The state auditor is on site to conduct the financial and single audit for fiscal year 2025. They will rely on the completed work of internal audit during that project. We continue to work with the Federal Transit Administration Project Management Oversight Consultant for the Railcar Improvement Program. And be advised that the Federal Transit Administration will conduct a triennial review to assess how the GCRTA uses federal funds and complies with grant requirements. That'll be later this year. We'll also work with them. The remainder of my report is informational. We will continue to follow up on all audit recommendations to validate corrective actions are implemented. We participate in a number of steering committees to learn and share risk management strategies. You'll see the balance of our report includes a training that our staff attended. I also have a note about our healthcare expense audit. Some have asked. Our consultant is on board. They have the claims from our third-party administrators and are proceeding with that audit. And I'll provide an update to our audit committee at the May meeting and certainly the results of that audit at a future board meeting, the committee of the whole. With that, it concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from committee board members?
I would just indicate that, for the record, that the audit meetings we have each quarter, including this last one, very detailed, terrific background information, transparency, lots of questions, lots of discussion. So what you don't hear today, you heard a week or so ago.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
That's our only item. I'd ask for a motion and a second to adjourn.
Moved. Mayor Weiss.
Second, Smith Wiggum.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. I'd like to call to order the GCRTA Board meeting of the trustees for Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. Roll call, please, Brent.
Mayor Kumar,
Here?
Ms. Pichetti,
Here.
Ms. Elder. Sorry, Ms. Elder. Roll call, sorry. Mayor Gallo,
Here.
Mr. Love,
Here.
Mrs. McPherson, Mr. Sleesman,
Here.
Mayor Weiss,
Here.
Ms. Wiggum.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have the January 20th minutes, 2026 for the board meeting in front of us for approval. There are no edits to those. Motion and a second, please.
So moved, Pichetti.
Second, Elder.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Next, we have public comment on agenda and non-agenda items. Do we have any individuals here today that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Hinkle. I'm a longtime city resident and a longtime commuter. I want to just take a moment to thank the bus drivers for letting all the riders sit on the coaches during the frigid, warm, cold temperatures. And there's a lot of places that don't have no bus shelters, and down has a lot of snow drifts out there. And when the bus drivers let the commuters off where the streets clear, we don't have to climb with the snow drift. I still say they need to have some kind of partnership to clear the snow away from all the bus stops so it'll be a little safer for the commuters, especially for the seniors. So I just want to say again, thanks to the bus drivers for letting the riders sit on their buses during the frigid weather.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Is there anyone else here in person that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Is there a way we could get a microphone to the rear of the audience, please? Thank you, Raj.
Good morning, everyone. I wasn't here last month because of the weather, and I really wanted to be here, but I'm here, and I hope you remember kindness. Be blessed, all of you. Be safe. Make someone else's journey a little bit better. All of us have a journey. We all come out the house if we have a house. But we are here to serve other people, not just ourselves. We're here to help their lives be a little bit better. Please keep that in mind daily as you go about your day. Also, I want to say thank you to all the RTA drivers. During the snowstorm, we know this has been a challenging winter. But let me tell you, when I say they went out of their way, they went out of their way. Can I do this? Can I help you with this? Let me get your arm. More than helpful. Be careful on the steps. Be careful on the ramps. When I come out, I put salt down. Take it out the big bag, and I put it in a little bag, and I'm spreading salt for my safety and the safety of my drivers. Let me do that for you. They don't have to. But that's the compassion in them. When I see that uniform and I see that paratransit, I know Karen is in good hands. I commend all of them. The ones I see, several. William, Amanda, Myla, Raquel, Rashida, and then I have provided ride. They're exceptional also. Demetrius, Michael, DeAndre, more than helpful. Can I do anything? Let me hold this. Take your time. You need a minute? More than helpful. This is what you want a company to be about. And this is how you get the tens, how you treat people, the way you want to be treated, the way you want them to treat your family members. Think about it. It doesn't hurt to be kind. Have a blessed day. God bless all of you and keep you safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. They're appreciated, and especially for the drivers. This year has been a tough year, and appreciate that feedback. Do we have anyone else in the audience? If not, do we have anyone online on the phones?
We have one caller on the line. Caller 0387, you can go ahead.
This is Eric Stewart. I don't have the name of the person that just gave the internal audit report. Is that person available to be spoken with?
This is for public comment, sir. If you could just let us know what your public comment is.
Well, I have a public question for the person that just gave the internal audit. Is that person available to be spoken with?
Just question first, please, and we'll see how we can address it.
He quoted a $125 million payout to the contractor. He didn't give the contractor's name, and I'd like to know that that $125 million line up with being consistent with what they expected to be paying that contractor. If that money was more than what the projected amount was, can he give an explanation as to why it came to that amount? In addition to that, if it was lower than that, then what happens with the money that wasn't spent since there was more expected to be spent? I have a question to Flance Cavers. Flance Cavers gave a figure of 69% of customer satisfaction on on-time performance. Well, for that statement to be true, you would have had to have responses from every single rider that rides RTA. Is that what your 69% is based on? If it's based on a survey, then how many people were in the survey that brought you to that conclusion that it was 69%? And did you talk to any of the same people twice and include that in your conclusion? I also want to talk to Mark Ash, if he's available. In reference to Mark Ash gave a percentage of 85% of transit companies handle their surveys of the customer satisfaction only every 5 years. Well, what number is 85%? This is a common problem that's presented at these Board of Trustees meetings. You give these percentages out, but you don't say what the numbers are based on. And then if you do give some indication of what the numbers are based on, you don't indicate whether you're talking to the same person twice and putting those in there. I'd also, and this has repeatedly been brought up, I also would like to know why I'm sitting here today wondering if I'm going to be cut off without being able to hear the rest of the Board of Trustees meeting and not being told, as I've asked repeatedly, what is the cost of keeping somebody on the phone through the entire meeting as it was part of your policy before and taken out without explanation, and still no explanation as many times that I've inquired about it. So can you address those things while I'm on the phone, address my web form while you're in the meeting so somebody else doesn't have to come back and wait a month to see what was said on the web form? Can you address those things today while I'm on the phone? Is Mark Ash still available to answer those questions?
I don't believe he's here, but thank you for your comments. We're going to end the call, and we can't answer, I think, the one question from on the rail cars for you, but we're going to end your call now. You can listen in on the live stream. Thank you.
Mr. Stewart, as I stated respectfully, the total value of the Siemens Mobility contract and change orders remains at $344,389,850. Total payments to the contractor as of January 30th are $125,339,525, representing 36% of the total contract amount. This is a contract amount that includes the change order in its total.
Thank you for that information, Tony. Do we have any other callers on the line?
I think there was just that one.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from our web?
There were two comments. The The first was also from Eric Stewart. The summary of what his web form comment was that he wrote about the 15 route and was questioning the frequency of it. He also wanted more of a response to his questions that he's asked in the past. The second comment was from Adam Rossi of Cleveland Heights. He writes that he's concerned about the potential of service cuts, and he hopes that RTA and local governments can find a solution to avoid them.
Great. And I know for Mr. Stewart's comments that management has written those down and can follow up accordingly. Thank you for so much. All right. Next, we're going to move to the committee reports. Committees on the front page from board governance through the community advisory committee. Do we have any committee chairs that have any reports or updates or upcoming meetings scheduled? Okay, let's move on to the next.
I have one question, Trustee Elder. Just with respect to the Community Advocacy Committee, do we have the meetings set forth for that for this year?
Are you
Oh, I'm sorry, Community Advisory, sorry.
We have a new committee. The schedule for that committee?
Yeah.
We do, and we can provide that information. I don't know off the top of my head, but we do have that schedule, I believe, and we'll get that to the board members.
Okay, thank you.
Great. We move over to page 2 of the agenda. We have 2 ad hoc committees. Is there any report from compensation or the nominating?
Mayor, I think there's a committee report.
Pardon me?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yes, I have a report from the Civilian Oversight Committee.
Great, thank you, sorry.
Yeah, that's my fault, I apologize. Since being appointed as the COC liaison late last year, the committee has met for 3 meetings. 2 of those meetings were in 2026. At the January meeting, the committee elected to keep the current chair and vice chair for the year. We were informed at the January meeting that one of the members needs to resign due to personal reasons. At this time, GCRTA staff are marketing on various social media websites and sites, as well as RTA webpage that we have a vacancy and are currently accepting applications. The qualifications for the vacancy include needing to be a retired police officer with the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy, which also is known as having OPATA experience. The application acceptance period began last Friday, February 13th, and will close on Friday, February the 27th. So if anyone knows of someone who fits this criteria, we ask that they visit the Civilian Oversight Committee page on the GCRTA website for an application and for more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, moving back over to the ad hoc committees. Any reports from compensation or nominating?
I'll start maybe on the compensation committee. This is the part of the year that we are very active. We have 2 reports directly to the Board of Trustees, and that's Mr. Garofoli and CEO Birdsong Terry. So we are working through those year-end performance reviews, and we will have a report shortly.
And the nominating committee is currently accepting nominations for president and vice president through March 1st. We'll announce those nominations at the March 3rd committee's meeting, and we'll have a vote at the March 24th annual meeting for president and vice president. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Next, we have introduction of new employees and announcements of promotions from Ida Marshall.
Good morning, Board President Kumar, India Birdsong Terry, General Manager, CEO, and the entire board. It is a pleasure, one second here. There we are. Pleasure to announce the new hires, and then also, Mr. Kevin, to also thank them for joining the RTA family. They have a lot of other employers to choose from, and they chose to join RTA. So I really do appreciate those and making sure that we remember that. Starting out with our bus operators, these are the folks behind the wheel. We're going to start out with our bus operators. Part-time was Warren Kowalski, Eris Williams, DeCarlos Adams, Todd Hudson Jr., Donna Burton, Kewan Haynes, Tyra Holloman, Aeneas Silver, and Kendra Cunningham. Continuing on is Kiera Davison, Antonio Kelly, Pemba Tamang, Samuel Aponte, Julio Santiago Saez, Malicia Zellers, Ashley D. Williams, Troy Scott, and Charles Williams. We also have a new member of main office building, and joining the payroll clerk family is Carol Terrell. And then concluding is a promotion for February is Janetta Crosby Edmonds, Service Quality Supervisor in Rail. And that concludes.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Next, we have introduction of resolutions, 2026-13, please.
Authorizing contract number 2025-142 with Future Age, Inc., doing business as Provider-Ride to provide contracted paratransit services in an amount not to exceed $52,300,000 for a period of 3 years, and in amounts not to exceed $20,900,000 and $22,800,000 for 2 one-year options, respectively, for a total contract amount not to exceed $96 million for a 5-year period. General Fund, Paratransit Department budget.
Thank you very much. Before I ask for a motion to approve, I think management may have a few comments.
Thank you very much. Good morning again. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to all of our paratransit customers, riders. We appreciate you, paratransit staff and management. This is definitely a labor of love, I'll say, and a labor of patience. Paratransit customers widely in the industry, and I'll just say this with full transparency, sometimes go unnoticed because the percentage of ridership is lower than the overall big bus or big train. But oftentimes we find that the paratransit interaction is extremely valuable because it is one-on-one, or it is one-on-4 or one-on-5. Very rarely does that exceed anywhere above 10 in one given moment. And so you have a lot of opportunity to really get to know your operator and get to know your customer. And with that, I wanted to actually invite Nick Davidson and Mr. Gradell to the podium here to be able to give a couple of words as far as the resolution. This resolution is absolutely important. Alan, it's been a while. We met when I first came on. Good to see you. And I want to say that in our last meeting, I told that story of us meeting in the conference room up on 5 to be able to talk about what Provider-Ride could do for RTA and do for our customers. And I will say, you guys have come an extremely long way as far as being able to capture the majority of the service that we have on the third-party side. And we appreciate you being a partner. So the resolution that you have here, again, is really a testament to the work that they have done, as well as STC, to be able to really provide that service. I don't believe we have them here in person, but they are here in spirit, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you to Laura Kleinman and her team as well. I'm on the phone with Laura just as much as I'm on the phone with anybody else. And offer them just a few minutes to be able to say hello to our board and anything else that you would like. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good morning. I'm Nick Davidson, District Director for Paratransit. I'll keep my comments brief, but it's been, we went back out to market to really reduce our overall cost of purchase transportation. We had a lot of vendors nationally and locally, and Provider-Ride over the years has been a very consistent partner. Their performance, reliability, and responsiveness to any issues that have arisen have been top-notch. And it's been a valuable partnership. They're going to be growing. They've been growing over the last years, more so than any other contractor, and they're dedicated to this. And I appreciate the partnership with Alan, and here's Alan.
Good morning, Board. It feels great to be here. First of all, we're very appreciative of the very long-term relationship that we've had with the Transit Authority. It goes back about 24 years. We've grown steadily over the years with you, not just in the amount of service that we provide, but operationally, our abilities. Sitting here and listening to the way that you manage this business, it's a valuable lesson for us. Under Nick's leadership, we've continued to improve. We've taken great steps under our last contract, but I think we're clear that more is expected. We were awarded a nice increase in the amount of work that we're going to do, and the expectations are high. It's great to see the net promoter scores are so high for the service, but we know where your heads are at. we're clearly aligned that we need to continue to drive that up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yes, if I could. I just wanted to say, for the benefit of the public who's listening today and may not have been at our past committee meeting, we had a robust discussion about this, and I wanted to thank the staff, especially Dr. Caver and Nick Davidson, for helping us understand the proposal. We were given a chance to ask a lot of questions and really ensure that with this decision, we are moving forward with something that is both cost-effective, but also pays real attention to the quality of service and maintains that quality of service that we know is so important to paratransit riders. So I just wanted to assure the public that we had a robust discussion about this. And yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Anyone else? If not, I'm going to make a motion to approve this contract. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 2026-13 has been adopted. 2026-14.
Amending Resolution Number 2026-2 to remove the vendor name Expert of Canton, doing business as Complete Pest Solutions, and replace it with Big Boots Pest Control, LLC, doing business as Complete Pest Solutions of Cleveland.
Thank you for that. Do I have a motion and a second for that resolution?
So move, Pachetti.
Second, Smith Wiggum.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is adopted as well. And last but not least, 2026-15.
Approving the 2026 Internal Audit Plan.
Nice and short. Thank you.
I would move approval. Mayor Weiss?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's adopted as well. And again, I want to thank Tony and his team for putting that together. And hopefully the timeline that we've adopted, along with Mayor Weiss and compensation, of aligning all this, providing your team with a bit more time to process that and get it done earlier in the year, is a benefit. Okay, next, Secretary Treasurer's Report, Raj Gotham.
This thing is sliding all over the place. Mayor Kumar, good morning once again. Members of the board, my name is Raj Gotham. I am the DGM of Finance and the Board Secretary Treasurer, here to provide a quick update for January and February activity. We'll start with the economic conditions as we typically do. At the January meeting of the FOMC maintained the interest rates at 3.75%. They do have another meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for March 17th and 18th to determine the next course of action. Annual inflation rate in the U.S., as we all recall, back in June 2022, had hit a high of 9.1%. It has been coming down steadily. It stands at 2.7% in December 2025. Started sharing the consumer confidence numbers, which is based on a survey of consumers from the University of Michigan. So consumer sentiment actually increased in February. The preliminary data for February indicates a 1.6% increase. When you look at the consumer sentiment, that is the month-over-month change. On a year-over-year change, that's an 11.4% decline. Current economic conditions, month-over-month changed and shows an increase of 5.2%. However, year-over-year, we still show an 11.3% decline. Consumer expectations month-over-month decreased by 0.7%. On a year-over-year basis, 11.6% decline. Ridership through January 2026. I'll start off with a quick comparison to pre-COVID levels. 2019, we were at 2.5 million. That's a decrease of about 800,000 rides, or roughly 31%. In January 2026, Ridership was 9.9% lower than 2025. I suspect weather may have had something to do with that change. Passenger fares, comparison to pre-COVID levels. 2019 passenger fares were at 3 million, were 1.9 million or 36.7% lower. It is largely a result of timing issues, and as the months and year continue, we do hope to see if we can catch up over there. Sales and use tax, once again, quick reminder, the February collections were based on economic activity from 3 months ago. February receipts were 17.4% higher when compared to February 2025. When we look at the total receipts for 2025, they were 12% higher. 18 out of the 21 categories were positive in January. Online sales were 17.6% higher, motor vehicles and watercraft 18.8% higher, and regular and statewide sales were nearly 9% higher. Summary of data that is included on a monthly basis in your packages. Total long-term debt after the principal payment in early December stands at 13.9 million. Average investment yield it stands at 3.62%. Total cash and investments of 340.3 million, of which 31.2 million is the unrestricted or amounts in the general fund, which meets the board requirement of maintaining a 30-day reserve. With that, I will take any questions that the board may have.
Any questions? Yes.
I don't know if it's a question, but I am thinking about how we are using, or you can correct me if I'm wrong, are we using COVID-19 numbers as a baseline? Because based on what we heard earlier, the 14% decrease, I don't know if we ever expect to get back to pre-COVID levels. So as we go forward, what will be our baseline? Will we continue to use pre-COVID numbers as our baseline, or is there a new baseline that we should be looking at going forward?
So I think the comparison always in my mind is the year before. So I consider that to be the true baseline. I think we do have traditionally been providing the information for the pre-COVID level so that we don't lose sight of what has transpired since that time. We used to actually provide, if you were to look, each one of the years, 2019, 2021, and so on, and that showed a marked increase year over year. And then, of course, this chart was becoming a little too colorful. So we decided just to keep the 2019 and show you the last 2 full years and the 2026 level. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if I could, I think I requested, a couple years ago, I requested the 2019 line just because for me, and I think many members of the public, as we compare ourselves to other transit agencies, that is like that has become a common baseline. But I think Trustee Wingham brings up a great point. We can always revisit at what point do we create a new baseline. I think it's a great question.
Yes.
And one that I think we can keep both in mind as we move forward, just knowing that the world is different than it was, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
All right.
Thank you so much, Raj.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you.
Next, we have the GM's report.
I feel like I never left. All right. Good morning again. Still morning. Just wanted to, before I go forward with the CEO report, I wanted to be able to give you a quick heads up that we do have a few folks in the seats that are not here normally. That is because we have a few folks that are down in Columbus today through Ohio Loves Transit, meeting with Ohio legislators. And this is important because it goes to some of the comments that were made earlier about our ability to advocate and our ability to educate. We take that opportunity as often as we can, as often as our travel budget will allow. for us to be able to take those opportunities and speak with folks. So we do have Jose Feliciano, Natoya Walker-Minor, Mike Shipper, as well as a couple of our other advocates through our third party in Columbus, through Dickinson Wright, meeting with legislators. They have a packed agenda. They are in meetings right now as we speak, really being able to give updates on projects, be able to hopefully secure recommitments for support for funding, and also letting folks know what's going on here locally so that when and if and when things hit the dais or hit their desks revolving around RTA, they are already armed with the knowledge of what we have going on under the hood and behind the curtain. So just wanted to mention that and say thank you to those folks that are on the road. All right, this was mentioned by one of our customers, I believe the gentleman right here in the front row. I echo your sentiments and say thank you to everyone. So thank you very much. It's always nice to know when what's on my slide is what's on the customer's mind. That means that we're headed in the right direction. So just wanted to say thank you. Teamwork does make the dream work, and being able to say thanks to not only the customers, but the staff and the management. You'll hear from some folks today that are actually embodied in some of these photos that you have. And you'll notice that you have folks from the districts, the operating districts, all the way from the equipment side to the operating side to the customer experience side that you'll see. And braving the elements, we do live in Cleveland, so we give ourselves a pat on the back, but not too much. It is to be expected. But we appreciate the work that goes into it. It's not easy, and it's not always automatic. It takes a lot to be able to have folks come out and do the work and go home safely the same way in which they showed up. So we appreciate them for that. All right, so I wanted to be able to give a little bit of an update. This is a little bit of a different sort of slide. It is a pilot program that we have, and talking about the dedication and also talking about the engagement of some of our operational teams that you may not always see here on the administrative side. I wanted to be able to highlight a particular team, Power and Way. They are doing something which might be considered a little unorthodox when it comes to their normal 9 to 5, so to speak. Power and Way is usually out there. They're the folks that you saw in those photos, right? They're the ones you think about with the elements. You think about electrified rail. You think about kind of heavy duty steel toe boot type of folks, right? That are really making the system go. They're also taking a walk on the softer side of administration and professional development. A while back, about 2 years or so, there was a conversation of re-engaging the Toastmasters Club. For those of you who may not be familiar with Toastmasters, it's an opportunity to become a better orator, to be able to enjoy situations like this where you're engaging in public speaking, but really having fun with it and being able to engage your art of storytelling. And so that way you don't bore people to tears with data and all of that, but you can actually bring them into the story. I like things like that. I think that has kind of become the hallmark of a lot of the way that I engage with all of you. And I like that to be able to continue throughout our team. This was something that we've had from administrations past, but really hadn't taken on and taken flight, so to speak, again in the last decade or more. So as we were trying to figure out what location might have a pilot program, we thought about a lot of different options. Main office came into play, different departments came into play, but lo and behold, we found out that Power and Way was actually halfway there already. Their leader, and Teresa Moody, she's in the middle there in the cream and black suit. She's not able to be with us today, but I actually feel like this is apropos, so gentlemen, please stand up and join me here at the podium. This is your Toastmasters test. To be able to talk about how this program is going and how it's been working over the past year plus. They are on an 18-month pilot, i.e. challenged, to be able to be the front runners in working this program to see if we can actually have it take flight at a more global level within the company itself. And so my challenge to Ms. Moody, Director Moody, and her team was to be able to really run it at the pilot level program at Power and Way for 18 months, and then be able to come back in front of the deputy general managers and myself to be able to pitch this as a program that becomes a mainstay as the fabric of our organization. And again, this really gets into how they're able to connect with each other, talk about goals and metrics, and really educate their teams. So if you have a staff meeting, how do you engage the folks that are sometimes working underneath the hood who never see the customer themselves, or those that do? How do you get folks excited about what's going on? So at this point, I'm going to actually hand over the mic for just a few minutes to Mr. Aaron Hale and Mr. Quinnell Marshall. Both of them are supervisors within our Power and Way Track and Structures Division, and also Power and Way overall. And I want you to be able to hear from these gentlemen to be able to give a little bit of information about how it's going.
Good afternoon or good morning, Chair and fellow board members. My name is Quinnell Marshall. I'm a Power and Way supervisor, and I'm a part of the Toastmasters Club. One of the things that you guys heard here is the perception of our riders, external customers as well as internal customers, and how they see things. A part of being able to change that perception is what you say. A lot of times we are lost on how to say things to have the best impact. Toastmasters gives us just that, the ability to focus on how what we say impacts those who walk out of the room. It makes the difference between being heard and listened to. Someone can hear you speak, walk out of the room and forget everything that you said. But when they listen to you, they can walk out, and that can be the catalyst behind action. So we've talked about people who don't get to see the public in general. So a lot of times they don't remember or see how their work impacts the bigger picture. So when we talk about Net Promoter Score and things like that, they come in, they do their 8 hours, and they go home. But how do I get them to change thinking about that as a way of connecting more with the community? How do I get you to do more when we've got to cut down on the budget? I need you to do more than your typical 8 hours worth of work. Why? What's the importance of it? This is what Toastmasters gives us, the ability to be able to look at our audience, what can be the most impactful statement or presented information to them to get them to be motivated, to get them to buy into what we believe. So it's not just about learning how to speak in front of people, it's learning how to make what you say have an impact and actually be listened to instead of heard. So that's one of the things that I really appreciated about the program.
Good morning, board. I joined Toastmasters in 2014 in a community club. And here in our closed corporate club, I've seen some of the same growth in our members as I've seen in my community club. And when we started out, lots of our coworkers were a little timid to get up there and speak. And you think this is your family, like we have random conversations every single day. But the simple fact, when all eyes are on you, that changes the dynamic of how we speak. But through all of our meetings, I think we've all seen a lot of growth and a lot more comfortability through all of our 21 members so far. And it's made a great impact, like Q said. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you. And I just want to take this moment. I know that this is a little bit much for one slide, but I'm extremely proud of both gentlemen, Ms. Moody, and all of the team at Power and Way. It is not just Power and Way, let me say that. We have some folks from main office that are there. My executive assistant, Mary Delgado, she comes in with a ribbon like every other meeting. And I know that there is our claims manager, I believe, through legal that's on it. There's a lot of folks that are a part of this pilot program, and they have done an exceptional job with this. We had a club meeting where several members of our deputy team, George Fields, Janet Burney, myself, and others attended to just hear how a club meeting goes. It is very structured down to the minute, and they critique each other with vigor. So this is something that I am very excited about, and I appreciate the eloquence with which they speak. So thank you, appreciate that. All right, so moving to the Healthy Business Council of Ohio, we were recognized. The bullets that you see there is our track record. So let me just have a proud mama moment there to be able to say that we were recognized through the Healthy Business Council of Ohio as a healthy work site. This is a recognition program. I'm going to ask George Fields to just give a little bit of color for that for a few seconds.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Birdsong Terry. George Fields, Deputy General Manager for Human Resources, and we're really pleased to continue our efforts with regard to employee well-being and wellness awareness, particularly nowadays as we face significant number of costs reduction strategies that we need to put in place for healthcare. The key driver, or one of the key drivers for this, is to make people aware of preventative care and wellness opportunities, and particularly to make sure that that healthcare education becomes prominent across our organization. And so we've done a good job over a number of years, but now we have the opportunity to raise the bar for 2026. And as you'll see, I think next month, you'll see wellness education or healthcare education as a strategy on our organizational scorecard. Thank you, Ms. Birdsong-Terry.
Thanks, George. Appreciate that. And yes, it is on the 2026 scorecard. Just as an aside, you will be reintroduced to that for those of you who maybe have not seen that or seen it in a while. So I believe, Trustee Sleesman, you asked about that scorecard. March, we can introduce that, but we will be giving it through the normal process for quarterly update as well, and we can send that out. All right, just a quick update. Northeast Ohio First Suburbs Consortium. So I appreciate Mayor Weiss in helping facilitate that introduction to this group. This was really what I call the inner ring suburbs plus, right? To be able to talk through what's going on at RTA. It was a great kind of it was a mini state of RTA in front of that group. Great energy and support to be able to talk through some of the things that are listed in the bullets so that folks understand what's going on under the hood. So this is part of that advocacy and education I was talking about before. We had a very robust showing by management. Joel Freilich and myself, director for operations, were able to really talk through some of the service adjustments over the years, and also where we're going moving forward when it comes to finance and job opportunities and safety and everything under the sun. And we fostered a lot of good relationships that way, and folks are engaged and ready to work with RTA. All right, so at this point, I'm going to ask two more folks to come up. This is my last slide plus. We've got about 2 or 3 slides on this particular item. I think some of you all will be super excited to hear about this, particularly Jeff. Trustee Sleesman, and also a couple of trustees that we no longer have at the dais here, but also our CAC as well, to think about safety and visibility on our buses. You give us a charge and you ask us about something, just give us a little bit of time and we can go ahead and execute so that we do it in a way that's thoughtful and a way that sticks. And also fiscally responsible. So that was our charge. We worked on that, and this is the output. I'm going to ask, thank you, Sharon Jenkins, Director of Marketing, and Dan Dietrich, Director of Fleet Maintenance for Bus, to be able to talk through what this is exactly, and then we're happy to answer any questions at the end.
Thank you, GM Terry. Good morning, President Kumar, members of the board. I'm Sharon Jenkins, Director of Marketing, here with Dan Dietrich, Director of Fleet Management. And today we're providing a brief update on an operational improvement that enhances both customer experience and fleet maintenance. We're removing aging window branding from our older CNG and diesel coaches with when those vehicles cycle through bus side or full wrap advertising installations. So you can see that there is an image up there. There's 213 buses with the original branding. And then that depicts the before and after of what the removal will look like. So this work is completed by Gateway Outdoor. That is our advertising sales partner. That's our contractor that sells the advertising on our assets. And this will be a part of their ad prep process at no additional cost to GCRTA. And over the next several weeks, we anticipate that we will be able to remove window branding on 75 coaches, which is approximately a third of the applicable fleet. And why this matters. So as you can see by the diagram, it will enhance the previous one, enhance the customer experience, creating clearer sight lines for riders. It eliminates the double layer of perforated vinyl that previously existed when advertising was placed over the permanent window branding. So this enhances the sight lines, especially during winter conditions when road grime further reduces visibility. And at the same time, we are removing torn and deteriorating vinyl, reducing maintenance concerns and improving overall fleet appearance. Again, this is being done in coordination with existing ad installation cycles, and there is no additional labor expense. I'm going to ask Dan.
Sure. Good morning, President Kumar, board members. My name is Dan Dietrich, Director of Fleet Management and Operations. And this slide, just rounding out this presentation, this slide depicts what our new buses will look like. We have 40 new buses entering service. They're delivered. We're preparing them for service. 20 will be out at Triscuit Operating District and the other out at Hayden, the other 20. Triscuit already has some of these buses in service, but we were able to get this in this last option for our bus builds, for our bus contract. And then in the future, this will be embedded in our specifications for our 40-foot bus to have branding that looks like this, that eliminates the window graphics and improves customer experience and safety so they can see out the windows in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I believe, and again, this is really important for us to be able to have safety felt, not just talked about. We want to make sure that folks can see our action. So this should be able to resonate with customers as soon as those windows are adjusted. So we wanted to be able to bring that to the dais so that you're aware of what we're doing. Any questions?
Just a note of appreciation on that one as the loudest instigator left, I guess. One of fleetingly few pictures in my phone is from January 23rd when I was on a bus and literally couldn't see out because there is that crime and we had the 2 layers. But this will go a long way to help that, especially like I still have feelings about bus wraps that are advertisements, but at least those come with revenue, whereas our own branding is just kind of I really appreciate removing that. It says a lot to the customer experience.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Just quickly, I think I saw on the slide it said 30% or so of buses will be, by the end of first quarter. I was just wondering when you expect to have the whole fleet replaced. Thanks.
Yeah, so the remaining buses, we'll be working internally. Our union, our ATU will be removing those at our body shop. I would anticipate throughout the remainder of the year, we'll pick away at that when we have opportunities to remove those. So that's the plan, just the progression throughout the year.
So by the end of 2026,
Yeah,
presumably
yes.
we will not see that again.
Yeah, on the standard branded buses.
Thank you so much.
The end.
Great.
Okay.
Any questions from anyone else? Okay, if not, great. We will move on. Under my report, just a reminder, we have a tour out in Brook Park on Friday. Obviously, dress casually and dress as we're going to be in different areas. Work boots, hiking boots, something that's sturdy and can brave the temperatures. Maybe it'll be warm, who knows? That. Also, I know we received a book relative to our upcoming retreat, the Emotionally Intelligent Team. Just a note that is on Spotify for those of you who like to listen during exercise or commuting and things like that. That is out there free of charge as an option. I think it's about 6 hours and 45 minutes when I took a look at it this morning. So on that. Any old or new business? Okay, if not, the next regular board meeting is scheduled for March 24th, 2026, right here and in the Root McBride Building at 1240th West 6th Street. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second, Pichetti.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.